in the Kursk region in Russia, where we would like to increase the buffer zone between Ukraine and the assaulting forces. So that's basically where we are. It's very fluid. The situation is constantly under development, and it's just another demonstration of that the narrative of the stalemate that has been quite widespread in certain circles is not quite true.
In that you're actually starting to make the progress that could see Russian forces defeated in Kursk.
Yes, the whole idea of our operation in that area was to push back the Russian forces to ensure that the areas in that region of our country is safe.
Very good morning, Eduard Fesko, Deputy Head of Mission from Ukraine to London. Can I just start by asking you, Mr. Fesko, how is the campaign going? What is the latest update from the front line?
Good morning. Pleasure to be here. For the situation as it is developing right now, there are several areas where we conduct active military operations. In the east, in Donbass, the Russians are constantly on the push. And then there is another campaign that you are aware of is in the Kursk region in Russia, where we would like to increase the buffer zone between Ukraine and the assaulting forces. So that's basically where we are. It's very fluid. The situation is constantly under development, and it's just another demonstration of that the narrative of the stalemate that has been quite widespread in certain circles is not quite true.
In that you're actually starting to make the progress that could see Russian forces defeated in Kursk.
Yes, the whole idea of our operation in that area was to push back the Russian forces to ensure that the areas in that region of our country is safe, because thousands of attacks, thousands of assaults, thousands of incursions has happened from that area. So we need to create like a buffer zone to ensure safety and security of our civilian population in that area.
And can I just ask, is there you want to use Storm Shadow missiles in Russian territory? That's correct.
We want to use the weapons that we do have against Russian targets, and not only in Ukraine, but also inside Russia, because that's where those attacks against Ukrainian civilian infrastructure are being carried out from. So it makes 200% sense to attack the root of the problem, not to deal with the consequences. That's why we are requesting this kind of permission to use long-range weapons against targets inside Russia. But we want to emphasize, we want to use those weapons against military targets that are being used in the Russian war against Ukraine.
And who do you think, or who do you understand to be the blocker? Is it the UK government or is it the US government?
That's something that I'd rather not to go into, which would be equal to appropriating blame. The dialogue is ongoing with all our partners, both here and in other capitals, not just in Washington, to have this kind of go ahead.
But is it, from your understanding, the UK is willing to allow it, and it's the Russians that are blocking it, or is it the UK Ministry of Defence that's blocking it?
I don't want to say that somebody is blocking it. I want to say that it is a decision that has to be made by our partners. They have their own reasons, they have their own reservations. They want to make a collective decision. But on our part, we see that the argument to give such a green light to use long-range weapons against Russian military targets is absolutely logical and long overdue. Because it is a similar case with the previous deployment of weapons against Russian targets just across the border. Now we are just expanding the theater of operations. So from our point of view, it's just delaying the inevitable because it's a logical step.
But do you accept that the reasons not to use the weapons is that if they were to hit civilian targets, then we could end up in World War III?
Why would they be used?
I mean, if they were to hit civilians, I mean, you can't guarantee in the theatre of war, can you, that if we were to provide, or the US government was to provide permission to use these weapons inside Russia, that you can't guarantee that they'll only hit military targets. They could very well hit civilian targets, couldn't they?
I disagree, because those targets that we are targeting are military ones, and they are not usually in the middle of the cities, population centers. So in this several years of the war, and since the time that storm shadows, let's say, have been provided to Ukraine, there have not been cases when we used or they were used against civilian targets. They were all used against military targets. We don't have that many of them to
except if you'd ever used them intentionally against a civilian target. I accept that your forces wouldn't ever intentionally do that, but there is a risk that, and there is the fact that you can't provide a guarantee that that wouldn't happen, and that civilians wouldn't be injured or killed as a result of these missiles being inadvertently or mistakenly used against civilians.
Then I strongly disagree with the argument that they can be mistakenly used against civilians. We never use our weapons against civilians. We use our weapons against the Russian military.
Yeah, no, I accept that you would only ever intentionally use, but this is the heat of battle. This is a war that's going on between Russia and Ukraine. And if those weapons were suddenly to be, somebody was to punch in the wrong numbers and the Storm Shadow missile was to hit a village, then the implications could be very, very serious indeed, couldn't they?
Yes, but then again, we are going into the area of, of ifs and other supposition, because this way we can easily construct a scenario which leads to a doom. Yes, but is this the scenario that is the most probably? Probably no.
It's always a chance.
Well, there is always a chance that while I was working here, I could be hit by a car, but I still go out every day.